What is a lease? In this video, I'll cover what is a commercial property lease from a legal perspective. I'll be looking at the transaction overall, some of the key terms in a lease, and some of the key points overall in the transaction. A lease is essentially a right in a property. There are three key markers in determining a lease. Firstly, at a term, for a rent, and with exclusive possession. So these three key markers are what can distinguish a lease between a license. A commercial property transaction would often start with negotiation between the landlord and the tenant. This may then get formalised in a heads of terms document which outlines all the key information in the lease. The tenant may then review the registered title and registered title plan. Then the tenant may undertake searches at the property. Then a formal lease may be drafted and then reviewed. And then, if appropriate, relevant 1954 Act documentation. The main provisions of a lease may include parties, term, so how long the lease will be, rent, so how much and what that includes, termination, so who can end the lease and when, break, if there are any break provisions at a specific anniversary, rent review and how that is calculated, and insurance provisions, who is insuring what. The 1954 Act. The 1954 Act is all about business tenancies and essentially means that the tenant has no contractual right to remain in occupation at the end of the term. This requires formal documentation to be served from the landlord to the tenant, and there's a distinction between statutory and simple declarations. Once you've completed your commercial lease, there may be some further steps to complete. So ensuring both parties have a completed version of the lease. If applicable, submitting an SDLT return. And if so, you may need to pay SDLT on that transaction. If applicable, the lease may need to be registered at Land Registry. So overall, in a commercial lease transaction, there may be a number of different items to consider. So heads of terms at the beginning, searches of the property, reviewing the registered title and title plan, reviewing and or drafting the lease, drafting and reviewing 1954 Act documents, submitting and paying any SDLT if applicable, and a registration at Land Registry for that lease. Watch this space for more exciting content.